This high-energy kid is now staring down a fate that's got fans stunned. Beneath his loud rap image, he was secretly building a criminal network that eventually crushed everything around him. The twisted reality of what dragged him down is far darker than most could ever picture, and we're about to expose it piece by piece. The legal storm surrounding King Harris is just beginning. Yo, what's good, fam? We're about to dig into some raw street chaos shaking the entire hip-hop world. We talking about King Harris, son of T.I., and how this young star went from drowning in luxury to catching serious cases and even clashing with his own mother. This ain't no regular spoiled rich kid meltdown. Nah, this dives straight into culture, into struggle, and shows what happens when keeping it real spins completely out of control. But before we roll into this wild journey, let me keep it solid with y'all. The streets been whispering. Social media been exploding with all kinds of insane rumors, King facing years inside, getting jumped behind bars, all kinds of chaos. But here's the deal. We're about to cut through the lies, separate fact from fiction, and reveal what's truly going down. Because with this young King saga, the truth alone is explosive enough, no cap needed.
I'm kind, energetic, nice dude, man. My name King, you know it, and your mama know it. On game what? On game what? Come here.
So peep this, October 14th, 2024. The date that flipped King Harris's entire world upside down. The young star was cruising through Dunwoody, Georgia, probably feeling untouchable, when boom, he almost clipped a police cruiser pulling out of a gas station. In seconds, the vibe changed. Cops pulled him over for failure to yield, and right away they caught a whiff of marijuana. Plus, they spotted a firearm sitting on his hip. Now hold up, don't twist it. This wasn't some wild harassment case. Truth is, King kept it calm the whole time. No fight, no resistance, just caught straight up slippin'. But here's where the story turns fire spicy. Once the officer ran his info, the system lit up with a red flag, an active bench warrant out of Pickens County. That warrant wasn't new either. It traced back to August 2022, tied to charges of reckless speeding, driving on a suspended license, and pushing the gas while under the influence. For 2 long years, this young king thought he could dodge the courts, moving like the system would just erase his name. But nah, the streets got rules, and the game always collects its debt. According to the reports, things escalated fast. Cops said they caught the strong smell of weed leaking from Harris's ride, spotted the strap sitting on his left hip, and uncovered not one but 2 small baggies of marijuana during the search. Now, in the hood, we all know a stop like this can flip sideways in a heartbeat, but King kept it smooth. No fake tough guy act. The officer slid the piece off his hip without resistance, cuffed him, and that was that. Real recognize real. But here's where the story cuts deeper. This wasn't just another case of a rich kid wildin' out. King Harris has been fighting to prove he ain't just a spoiled son living off his father's shine. He's been screaming about his ties to the streets, saying he stands on business, pushing the image that he's really built for this life. He even emphasized how time with his grandmother in Atlanta's rougher blocks gave him real-life experience far away from luxury. And then, the family drama exploded. While King sat in DeKalb County Jail, waiting to be shipped to Pickens County, his own mother, Tiny Harris, hit social media with a live stream. She didn't hold back. Tiny straight up said her son ain't got good sense and don't got all his marbles. Imagine that, your own mom's telling the world you ain't right in the head while you're sitting locked up. That's some cold, unforgiving truth. But Tiny wasn't just clowning. She also defended her boy in the same breath, saying he don't mess with anybody unless they cross him first. That's protective mama energy, no doubt, but also her way of admitting King's been moving reckless. Then came the twist. The bench warrant? Recalled. King walked out shortly after, posting a video, "I'm a free man. I'm not locked up." Just like that, all that chaos, stress, and speculation boiled down to nothing. But make no mistake, the damage was already sealed. The streets were buzzing, blogs on fire, and his reputation caught another scar. And here's the elephant in the room. The internet went ballistic, fake headlines flying about a 5-year prison sentence, jailhouse beatdowns, even T.I. begging judges in tears. Clickbait gold, but 0 receipts. Reality? The boy walked free, period. Still, The mess exposed the weight King been carrying. He's stuck straddling two worlds, the privilege built by his parents and the gritty street cred he's desperate to claim. Critics tore him down, calling him a wannabe gangster, saying he fabricates street stories for clout. That cuts deep, especially when you're trying to carve your own lane in the rap game. And it didn't just expose King. The arrest threw light on his family bonds too. Even T.I. himself had to address it publicly, drawing comparisons between his son's wild streak and his own past mistakes, with a heavy note of concern for where this road could lead. If he keeps that up, he's going to prison. Those weren't empty words. That was T.I. speaking from scars only he knows. A man who's been through the system, who understands how fast the streets can swallow you whole. His warning wasn't just tough love, it was prophecy. But here's the complexity. As a father, T.I. is walking a razor's edge, trying to show support, trying to guide his son, but also holding him accountable. On top of that, he's got the weight of public perception pressing down. He's a legend, and now the world's watching how he handles a son making the same mistakes he once did. The only difference? When T.I. was wild at that age, there weren't millions of eyes recording every slip. That's why his warning carried so much weight. He knows King's privilege can only shield him so far. Keep testing the system, keep catching cases, and eventually, not even family connections or powerhouse lawyers can stop the crash. And the timing? Couldn't have been worse. King Harris was right in the middle of trying to establish himself as a serious artist and stepping into fatherhood. He was expecting his first child with his partner Jania Nana Epps, a season that should have been about growth, responsibility, and new beginnings. Instead, he was knee-deep in legal chaos that overshadowed everything. This ain't just one arrest. It's a blueprint we've seen too often in hip-hop culture, young men torn between chasing street credibility and building a family legacy, forced into choices that risk both. King's arrest didn't just interrupt a positive chapter, it flipped what could have been a redemption arc into yet another cautionary tale of self-destruction. But let's take it deeper. This isn't only about mugshots and courtrooms. This is about how a kid born into Atlanta royalty ended up chasing validation in the streets. To understand that, we gotta rewind.
In fact, like a lot of people, I feel like you gotta start putting out the good, like, not that, I feel like you so chill, you don't care about putting out the good.
Television growing up Harris wasn't normal. Born August 25th, 2004 as Clifford King Joseph Harris III, the boy stepped into the world with everything already paved. Fame, wealth, spotlight, it was baked into his DNA. From 2011 to 2017, millions of viewers watched him grow up on VH1's T.I. and Tiny, The Family Hustle. While most kids worried about school dances and homework, King was on reality TV, cameras in his face, every move documented. That kind of pressure warps you. It blurs the line between who you are and who the world thinks you are. And here's the wild part. Even with all the privilege, all the luxury, King kept claiming he spent real time in the trenches. He said he lived stretches with his grandmother in the rougher blocks of Atlanta, chasing what he called real life outside of the money and fame. Now, some critics say that's fake, that he's play acting in pain that isn't his. But look at it another way. Maybe this young blood was searching for his roots, searching for where his father came from before the Grammys, the awards, the Hollywood shine. Searching for an identity the spotlight couldn't hand him. The music grind started early. King Harris picked up the mic young, shadowed by his father's legacy, and crafted the alias Kidden, inspired by Dragon Ball. Anime mixed with Southern trap? That's a unique lane, merging Japanese culture with Atlanta grit. He dropped tracks, built a following, and tried to carve out his own space in a game where everyone already judged him by his last name, either destined to flop or to shine because of who his dad is. But then came the love story that changed the narrative. Enter Jania Nana Epps, a young woman from Atlanta who stole King's heart and gave him something real to fight for. Their relationship hit the spotlight mid-2024 when whispers surfaced that Epps was pregnant. This wasn't a staged industry romance. This was raw, genuine, and filled with responsibility. By August 2024, T.I. confirmed on Atlanta's Hot 107.9 that his son was expecting a child. Imagine that, a hip-hop legend announcing to the city, He's about to be a grandfather. For King, that moment had to feel heavy. Your father broadcasting your private milestone to millions. That's what comes with being born into royalty. October 2024 brought the baby shower, blue-themed, celebrating the arrival of a son. And by November 2024, little King Jr. entered the world, a moment that could have signaled maturity, growth, and stability. But then came the twist. January 2025, Instagram Live, and King dropped a bombshell. He revealed that his relationship with Epps came with an unusual rule. She allowed him to date other women, as long as it wasn't emotional or public. His words? He could cheat in peace. The internet lit up. Some called it grown understanding. Others blasted it as straight disrespect. But whatever side you're on, one thing's clear. This was no fairy tale romance. Still, love drama wasn't the only storm. King's hot-headed nature kept pulling him into messy beefs. One of the ugliest came November 26, 2023, at an Atlanta Falcons game. He went live, clashing with T.I. and Tiny, arguing about whether he grew up with a silver spoon. Then, February 2024, the feud with comedian Drewski blew up. After Drewski cracked jokes about King's stand-on-business phrase, King snapped back online, calling him fat, threatening violence, and spewing insults. "You fat out-of-shape BH. I'll beat the F*** out of you." Asterisk real reckless. Instead of flipping the joke, he went for body shaming and threats. That wasn't strength, that was insecurity on display. For a rising artist, that's career-damaging behavior. The beef eventually fizzled, probably because someone in his circle checked him, or maybe his parents stepped in. But it showed the danger zone King steps into when his temper takes control.
What do you got against Waffle House?
See, when they made my sandwich, as you can hear in the video, no pickles. And it wasn't the pickles.
And we can't forget the infamous Waffle House incident back in May 2022. A late-night mix-up with staff turned into a full-blown scene, with King raging, recording himself going off, and posting it online. We've all been to Waffle House hungry and tired, but instead of brushing it off, King turned it into another viral controversy. And get this, the whole Waffle House meltdown? It was over pickles. Yep, they put pickles on his sandwich after he clearly said no pickles. Then it looked like somebody poured water on it and pressed it down. When King cracked open that sandwich, he was disgusted, told the world they had massaged his food and left the pickle just sitting on top. To him, it wasn't just about a sandwich. It was disrespect, and he let everybody know about it. Put it all together, and you start to see a pattern, a young man split between two worlds. On one hand, he's got everything, money, connections, opportunities most people can only dream of. On the other hand, he feels like he's gotta prove he ain't soft, that he deserves respect in the streets, that he's built for the life his pops once lived. Psychologists even got a word for it, affluenza. Not just the courtroom defense, but the condition where kids from privilege wrestle with guilt, purpose, and authenticity. They never had to struggle, so they manufacture struggle, chasing conflict, chasing pain, trying to prove they're real. For King Harris, that struggle showed up in every public outburst, every fight for credibility, every move to claim the streets. But here's the real conflict: the parents. T.I. raised his kids on discipline, drawing from his own battles with poverty, crime, and prison. But King kept pushing back. He wanted to make his own mistakes, even if it meant dragging the family name through the mud. That's the curse of hip-hop royalty. You inherit the crown, but you don't inherit the struggle that earned it. And without the scars, the respect doesn't come easy. By March 2025, though, the story shifted. King reflected on the feud, admitting him and his pops were finally seeing eye to eye. He even compared their bond to Power's Ghost and Tarek, a father and son locked in war, but finding a way back to each other. That moment showed growth, a glimpse of maturity, maybe even the start of healing. But how did the culture respond? Let's just say social media didn't hold back. Bird on Twitter, the reactions swung from ruthless roasting to sobering reality checks. Memes popped up everywhere, people clowning his tough guy act, posting captions like, "Bro born A. Millionaire, but trying so hard to be a felon. Brutal." Some even compared him to Garlic Knots, flooding timelines with jokes and reaction gifs of T.I. looking fed up. But it wasn't all jokes. Some voices showed concern. One user wrote, "This boy's been screaming for help for years, and nobody around him cares enough. And now a baby's on the way." That hits different. Bust in silhouette over on Reddit. The debates got deeper. Users labeled him a Nepo baby, acting out suburban gang fantasies, calling his whole image inauthentic. They didn't buy the street persona, not for a second. Microphone the hip-hop community? Complicated silence. Most artists stayed quiet, not wanting to wade into family business. But that silence said something too. If King had real respect, more voices would have stepped up to defend him or at least guide him. Meanwhile, the music grind kept moving. At 21, performing under Kid Shawn, he dropped projects like his 2025 EP Be Ready, Raw Trap, Personal Narratives, a glimpse of potential. But legal baggage loomed. Labels and promoters saw liability. Unresolved cases, probation, travel restrictions. That's money at risk. And then came the body cam footage, released in August 2025. It confirmed the arrest details, weed smell, gun on his hip, but didn't bring new charges. Still, for fans hoping King would mature, seeing that footage felt like a letdown. His stand-on-business mantra has been both a weapon and a wound. It rallied young fans who respected the energy, but it also backfired whenever his actions didn't line up with the slogan. Privilege versus persona, that's the disconnect. At the end of the day, King Harris stands at a crossroads. Son of a legend, father to a newborn, artist trying to carve out his own lane, but haunted by choices that keep pulling him back. In hip-hop, authenticity is everything. And until he finds peace with who he really is, the streets, the industry, and internet will keep questioning his crown. Significant too. King built his social media presence around being real, being tough, being about that life. But when you constantly having legal issues, family drama, and public feuds, it starts looking less like authentic street credibility and more like poor decision-making. His streaming numbers or social media engagement could be affected as sponsors and platforms become wary of controversial figures. But here's what's interesting. Becoming a father might actually save his career. The birth of his son in November 2024 seems to have changed King's perspective, with T.I. publicly supporting this transition. Fans love a redemption story. Love seeing young artists grow up and take responsibility. If King can channel his experiences into better music and show real growth, this could all be part of his origin story rather than his downfall. The broader implications for the rap industry are worth discussing, too. King's case reflects broader trends in hip-hop where legal troubles intersect with fame, but its industry-wide impact is negligible given his emerging status. However, it does highlight some important conversations about second-generation rappers and the pressure they face. We're seeing more and more children of rap legends are all stepping into the spotlight: Lil Wayne's son, Master P's kids, and now King Harris. But with that spotlight comes a heavy label: Nepo baby. King's journey shines a light on the bigger conversation about privilege in hip-hop, where artists born into money face constant doubt about their authenticity. And it raises a question for the future. Will labels prioritize raw stories over bloodlines, authenticity over connections? Another angle of this saga is misinformation. Unverified rumors of 5-year prison sentences and jailhouse beatdowns spread like wildfire through YouTube and gossip blogs. No evidence, no facts, but thousands believed it anyway. That's the double-edged sword of today's culture: clicks over truth, spectacle over substance. And reputations get burned in the process. At the heart of it all is the family dynamic. T.I.'s approach, showing tough love but never abandoning his son, reflects the challenge of being a hip-hop father. How do you guide a child who wants to earn his own scars in the same dangerous streets you barely survived? That tension is real, and it resonates far beyond one family. Long-term, this might not be the end for King. It could be the beginning of something bigger. Hip-hop loves a comeback. The culture respects growth. By early 2025, King and T.I. started reconciling, both taking accountability for past clashes. That kind of maturity could fuel deeper music, more authentic stories, and stronger connections with fans. Social media's reaction showed two sides of the coin. Some roasted him endlessly, mocking his silver spoon background and thirst for street cred. Others saw through the chaos, pointing out a young man crying out for help, about to raise a child, and struggling under the weight of expectation.